Hi, this is Mike Hendrickson from Strata Hadoop World in San Jose. I'm here with Jack Norris. Jack, how you doing?
Great.
So you're with MapR.
Yep.
What big trends are you guys seeing that are any different than last year at this time?
Well, it's been an evolution, and I think 2016 is going to be the year of real time. We're seeing a lot of focus on applications that are embedding analytics with operations and making small adjustments, whether that's for top line or reducing costs or mitigating risk.
So real time, different than streaming or same thing?
Great question. So when we say real time, that definition can have a broad meaning to many technologies and organizations. And sometimes real time is look how fast that query was, but the data's a week old. So it's really, it refers to from the time data is created or collected until a business action happens. And if it's real time across that whole process, if you can squeeze that cycle down, then you can really enable some transformational applications.
So is the ad broker model a real-time application? Basically, when I log into Facebook before my page is even loaded,
yes,
the ads for Nordstrom or whatever show up before the page is even loaded.
So Altitude Digital, they're a customer of ours, 7 billion transactions a day, and they're one of the fastest growing video ad marketplaces. And they're making decisions about what's the right video to present to the right person at the right time. That's an example. But it applies to healthcare, where we're seeing, how do you coordinate the flow of information? Liaison Technologies taking the electronic medical record and making that a stream, and having a publish and subscribe paradigm to link hospitals and clinics and physicians and patients and payers. And it's simplifying the flow, and it's really creating this operational agility across the whole spectrum.
Operational agility, let's unpack that a little bit, because with data, having operational agility is probably a huge win.
Yes.
But how does someone get that?
So, let me define the term, because I think there's a lot of, not confusion necessarily, but a lot of ways to talk about that. And really it's about a machine-generated response to typically machine-generated data, whether that's social or mobile interaction or machine sensors or even transactions. And operational agility is what EY calls it in terms of organizations responding appropriately to kind of changes in conditions. We've heard the term high-frequency decisioning, which kind of borrows from high-frequency trading, but talks about how do you make an operational response. Gartner's talking about the algorithmic business, but it's basically a machine-generated adjustment to impact business while it's happening. And that's the big trend, and it requires more than just streaming. Streaming is an important aspect, but it's a convergence across multiple manipulations, database, streams, deep analytics. So this data in motion, it comes across, if you recognize patterns or long-term trends based on the data that you've collected, you can respond more appropriately. And it's requiring a different approach in applications, and it's resulting in some really significant wins for customers.
So more than streaming and more than just operational agility, you have to be streaming the right decision points of the data. I mean, so someone has to make sense of what's coming through the pipe. So how does
it's not a single stream. So think of a series of publish and subscribe events and some small microservices going on. Broad data comes in, it's analyzed or filtered. That process, sends something else on, and then another operation takes place. And so, an application is actually the sum total of these different interactions on the data, and the streams can be a series of interlocking, dependent operations and flows. I just talked to a gentleman at the booth from Germany who's a publishing company, and they're focused on streams, and they have a hate speech algorithm that takes place here, and they have a lot of processing going on before something is ultimately published, and they're looking how do they coordinate that and compress that time frame. And the development is a series of incremental operations that can add to that stream at any time. And I think we're at this revolution in terms of how applications are developed and delivered.
So that goes back to your point about real time and the different meaning for real time, because if you're taking a snapshot of a stream that feeds another stream and it's another snapshot of that, it's not necessarily instantaneous, but it's in real time.
Correct.
Which is different than... Okay.
Correct, and it's real, it's about, really the ultimate test is, can you influence the business as it's happening? So it's not a reporting, monitoring function, it's not a predictive in terms of what's going to happen in the distant future, it's kind of reacting in the now.
So you talk also about data in motion and stream and all that. Data at rest?
So
when does my data need to rest?
Great question. Yeah, there's a, we've seen in the industry this distinction and this separation, and say, well, data in rest is different than data in motion, and you have different infrastructures.
And we're not talking about data in restful web services. We're just talking about data in rest. It's just data not working.
Data collected, aggregated.
Yeah.
And I think the reality is they're just different aspects of the same data, and you need to treat them the same and have them together, because data in motion, it's like, well, gee, that's an interesting heat and vibration signature from that machine. And if I'm comparing that in the deep trends that I've had over a period of time and the patterns, I can say that is probably signaling a failure that's about to happen. Right? Probably in the next week or so, I'm going to have a failure. So now let me send off a database operation and find out where that part's located and schedule a maintenance and basically make something routine instead of catastrophic in the manufacturing process.
So, of all the use cases you've seen in the last year of your partners and people you work with, you don't have to name the partner, but the industry or whatever, what is the most interesting use case you've seen in the last year, where we are, someone showing actual real tangible results of using data, a modern data architecture? What?
I mean, it's hard to pick one.
Yeah.
IDC did a study and found that on average our customers were achieving ROI within months and a 400% return. So there are some, cross-industry really interesting ones. But I'll pick out an example of one that kind of surprised me. Because we talk about streams, and you think about machine-generated and social media, et cetera. But this healthcare example from Liaison Technologies, they're viewing the electronic medical record as a stream. And any time that's touched, it sends out kind of a publish and subscribe paradigm. So there's a series of real-time applications that are based on that. The stream is a system of record, so they can go back to any point. Well, what was the medical record on April 1st, and who touched it, and how did that change? So that whole lineage and flow is built into the process. The ability to kind of coordinate across physicians and clinics and patients and doctors are part of that publish and subscribe paradigm, and they have integrated security to protect privacy and fulfill HIPAA compliance. So it's a dramatic rethinking of the process to speed the flow of information in healthcare, and
potentially a huge game changer for everyone.
Huge game changer.
Yeah. Well, Jack, that's great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.